You know, guys, I got a lot of questions on if you should play Torchlight 3 or if you should just wait for it or skip it in general. Why don't we just go ahead and dive into that question today, shall we? So, the question I get asked a lot anymore is should I buy Torchlight 3? I've never played Torchlight before. I feel like buying the third one, I'll be out of the story. Well, in that question, I'm going to say, yeah, you should. This takes place many years after Torchlight 2 is released. So, you're not really diving into a story that's already continuing. You get pieces of the prior stories, of course, as you do with any game that has a good story to it, or any story that's really thought out. You get pieces of the prior story, lore pieces more or less. It's not anything that you really need to be concerned with missing out on things. So, in that aspect, you wouldn't be hurting yourself to just go ahead and give it a try. Now, I do have to say this is early access, so do as you will there. I would wait until the game is fully released in most cases. In this case, I'm going to go with buying it myself, which I have, as you've seen in my prior videos. As of today, I believe today is September 2nd of 2020, the cost of Torchlight 3 is $30. So it's half the cost of your standard AAA game, which makes it a lot easier to swallow that cost and just go ahead and make the purchase if you wanted to as well. But mind you, if you buy this game in its current state, you are paying for an early access game, which is more or less a paid beta. Now, what that means is that this game is constantly changing. When I bought this game, I don't even know how long ago, actually, looking at the screen. Um, when I bought this game, it was very different than what it is now. The relic system, for one thing, is very different. Before, you got to pick up your relics as you went through the game, interchange them as you wanted, but they never really felt super strong, in my opinion. Since then, the relic system has had a massive overhaul in how it's used, how you pick relics, even. It's completely different. What relics work with what weapon, though that is changing. And the next video you see, as far as the relic system goes for me, will be about the relic system as it will most likely be at release. And if you want to see the video on the relic system and the changes made to it, that video is right up here in this corner. So when you play this game, you pick between four classes. Those classes define if you're going to be more of a sword and board style character, if you're going to be a mage, if you're better at range combat, or if you're better with, two-handed weapon. Your relic, which you now pick, will help complement that and help open your playstyle up, I should say. As it currently stands, the relics define what kind of weapon you can use. If you're picking sharpshooter, you have to go with cold, or else you lose out on a large chunk of power for your character in terms of using a bow and or gun. On the opposite hand, if you go with sword and board character, you're pretty much stuck with blood drinker, or whatever the blood version of. I forget the names, I apologize, guys. But you end up with the blood character because he powers with bleeds. He heals himself. That's changing, and you'll be able to pick whatever you want, and the weapons won't have a tie to the relics anymore, which is a good thing. Now let's go on to game's length and longevity. If you've ever played a dungeon crawler before, like Diablo, Path of Exile, Grim Dawn, then you know that you're going to be leveling and you're going to be collecting the loot. A big time loot game, it is what it is. That is exactly how these games are made to be. I personally love having to go out and get new loot and try and get that one better stat for my pants or my shirt or whatever it is that I'm trying to get. Maybe a legendary even, to enhance my character further. That is a big theme in this game. Also, your maps are going to be different every single time you go into one. So when you go into a map, say you start today and you go into the first map and you leave, you go out, get some lunch, dinner, whatever time it is that you're watching this, you come back, go back into that zone, the map has changed. The paths are different. They do point to the same direction typically, but overall the maps do change. They're not as procedural as, say, like Diablo 2 was. Even Path of Exile, which is extremely procedural, depending on what map gets loaded that day and seeded for you. Now, does this game have longevity for you? That's always a good question to ask, because if you're going to invest time and money in the game, you want to be able to get some time out of it. You want to be able to play this game for a long time. Well, this game seems like it will have a good amount of time for longevity. So that's with new maps, more gear, potentially more levels down the road. So, mind you, these details are not something they've released yet. Let us know how this game's going to carry on over time. My guess is that there will be expansion packs and or DLC to open up new areas. You also have things like treasure maps, which open up special dungeon areas that help you try and get better gear, give you some boosting of levels, give you more gold, things like that, which can be expanded upon as well. Currently, there's only 3 types, one for each of the 3 types of creatures you find, which deal primarily with fire, poison, and I believe electricity to style damage. Now, there's more damage types in the game. However, those are not monster types yet. And because of that, there's no more than those 3. There's 3 continents you go to, and that's it. Now, over time, it looks like those will be added into the game. And once those are, that will expand what you can do further and where you can go and different types of protections you can get, especially when you play with co-op, going in, fighting harder monsters, increasing your difficulty, and potentially doing things like the end game in Diablo, where you go and you do rifts and greater rifts. Those may also be a thing to do in this game. Now, another thing is, well, I'm not a big PC gamer, but I like the game. Can I play it on consoles? At this time, no. It's only available on PC, and this is as of September 2nd, 2020. However, this game has been announced for the Nintendo Switch. So on your Nintendo Switch, you'll be able to sit down, play this game wherever you want, with or without multiplayer in its varying modes. There is no single player only game. You are required to have an internet connection to this game. Now, that single player mode is coming. It will be out after early access and maybe even a little bit before that. And now on to the last question that people have asked me recently about repetitiveness of this kind of game. Now, if you've ever played a dungeon crawler game before, like I said, Diablo, it does get repetitive where you're killing monster after monster after monster. It feels like you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. That's not a big problem. I personally do not like repetitive games, but I found that this is not much of an issue for me at all. I can sit down, I can play the game as I want to, I can log out when I want to, no problem. Other people may not like this style of game where you're constantly going and trying to get the most incredible loot you can find, so this game can be repetitive for you in that case. But if this is the kind of game that interests you, if that kind of casual content is something that you don't have a problem doing in a more repetitive manner, perfect. Then this game will probably be for you. It's not as extreme as Diablo, at least Diablo 2. Diablo 3 is not as strong. It's definitely not as strong as Path of Exile. Path of Exile is a very deep game. It's got a lot behind it. But I would put it on par with Grim Dawn as far as content goes. Flexibility, not as much as Grim Dawn would have. You do have a much more limited skill tree, but you do have a good amount of content for it. Grim Dawn is also $60, where this is $30. So for the amount of money, you're getting a more equalized gameplay, though Grim Dawn does have the advantage of being out longer than Torchlight 3. So if you have any questions on if you should buy Torchlight 3, is Torchlight 3 worth it? Is it going to be worth it for the Nintendo Switch? Or when the release dates are, please go ahead and feel free and ask me down below in the comments section. I'd be happy to try and answer those questions if I can, or any other questions on whether or not you should buy this game. There's a lot of questions I can't answer right now because the details just are not released to us. Unfortunately, I wish they were. I would love to be able to give you those kind of details. But at this point in time, those details are just unavailable to us as consumers. And with that, I hope you guys like this video. I hope you end up playing some Torchlight 3. Check out the Relic system. I know I enjoy this game. I'll be buying this for the Nintendo Switch as well when it comes out. Crossing my fingers here, though. I'm really, really hoping for cross-character. And definitely cross-play, though. Absolutely cross-play. Hopefully cross-character. I would love to not have to worry about leveling a different character on each device. But if I do, it is what it is. Either way, I'll be making further content for it. If you guys like this video, feel free to hit the subscribe button and the like button down below. Tell me how I did in this video. Tell me if you like this, what you didn't like. And also, if you want to come back and see some more great Torchlight content, subscribing is the best way that you can do that. I try and post at least 2 videos per week. One is always going to be a state of the game for as long as they're released. And a second will be just a more casual talk. In the future, I also plan to be making more evergreen style videos, I guess you can call them, where the content is not going to go away. This content would be around things such as my planned videos for breaking down each relic and what that means for your character and how you can potentially best utilize that relic for your future gameplay. And with that, my name's Alifia, and I'm here at Blue Unicorn Gaming. I hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe out there, and keep on gaming.